And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today. I just want to give my thoughts on this Mike Tyson, Jake Paul tragedy that happened. So I was definitely one of the people that was rooting for Mike Tyson for a lot of reasons, because Mike Tyson was part of who I grew up on, because Mike Tyson represented that generation where things had to be earned and not given, as opposed to the current generation, which is Jake Paul, where things are given and not earned. And I was just hoping that maybe just for a moment in time, Mike Tyson would be able to turn back the hands of time and sit Jake Paul down. So it's a couple of points I want to make. And I always kind of like to tie everything together on my channel. So, you know, I'm going to talk about Michael Jordan a little bit. And for this reason, as much as I had hope as I had for Mike Tyson, when Mike Tyson was walking out to the ring, my hope started to diminish quickly. Because when Mike Tyson was walking out to the ring, he just didn't look confident at all. And to me, that is a big part of, I guess more importantly than the confident aspect, is he just didn't have that killer in his eye that he used to have walking out to the ring. It's, you know, like you were staring at someone dangerous, and like he knew he was dangerous. He didn't have that look. And so it kind of got me thinking, like, with Michael Jordan and people, and even Mike Tyson back in the day, right? It's like part of that dominance that they had is the mentality that they had. It is that killer will, that killer mentality that they had. Michael Jordan, for all the athleticism and all the skill that this man possessed, wouldn't have been the same guy if his mentality wasn't the same. Even if he had the same amount of skills, if he had the same hang time, and the same jumping ability, if he had all those things minus the mentality, Michael Jordan would not be 6-0 in the finals. He would not be the guy that we were talking about. And we've heard of Michael Jordan beating some of these new players one-on-one well into his 50s. And I still think that's because Michael Jordan, at his core, still had that killer mentality. Now, I'm not sure if he has it now in his 60s or not. But I think the mentality is so important. So when Mike Tyson walked out to the ring and I didn't see that, I knew we were in trouble. Now, Mike Tyson came in the first round and landed a straight right hand that knocked Jake Paul back. And I was like, uh-oh, okay. If Mike Tyson can, get off a few of these, he still might be able to do it. But Jake Paul, basically avoided Mike Tyson the whole fight. He tied up Mike Tyson when Tyson got in too close. And for that, I must say, I think Jake Paul is a coward. Now, I've heard some people saying that Jake Paul took it easy on Mike, and I think that could have been the case in the last round, but I was watching a video from another YouTuber who actually knew a lot about fighting, but he was sitting ringside during the fight, and he showed some ringside footage, and he was like, for those who were saying Jake Paul took it easy on Tyson, I don't buy that, because sitting ringside is a different feel than watching it on TV. And when he showed the ringside footage, oh no, you could tell Jake Paul was not taking it easy on Tyson. Jake Paul was being smart by staying out of Mike Tyson's power zone. Now, I will say this. To me, Jake Paul is a coward, because if you're going to fight a 58-year-old man and you're bringing all this hype as if, man, if, I'm going to destroy Tyson and I'll be able to say I beat the baddest man on the planet. Well, if you're going to do that and you're fighting a 58-year-old man who's far, far, far removed from his prime, then at least give him a shot by standing in there and trying to actually fight him. But this is not what he did. And so, to me, the fight was just, it was a disappointment all the way around. I mean, you can give Tyson some credit for being able to last 8 rounds. And you know what? Tyson got a good payday, which is, to me, really irrelevant. But I'm happy for Tyson in the sense that he was able to last all 8 rounds. I don't blame Tyson for even taking on the challenge, because to me, I feel like at the end of the day, that's what this was for Mike Tyson. It's just a challenge. It's like, can I get in there with this 27-year-old kid and go the distance? And he actually did, because Jake Paul hit him with some great shots. Now, someone, again, I was not watching another channel this guy who's a fighter, and he was just saying Jake Paul hit Tyson with a couple of good shots, but the reason Jake Paul couldn't drop Mike Tyson is because he couldn't keep his feet planted, because he had to constantly be keeping his distance from Tyson. And so, yeah, like I said, from that standpoint, I just feel like Jake Paul, like, if you're going to do this, don't be a coward. Like, go in there and exchange some blows with Mike Tyson. Like, But anyway, like I said, this whole thing was just a travesty. And it actually made me think about something. I may go live late tonight or tomorrow. But it just made me think about that Jake Paul in this fight, is like everything wrong with society. Matter of fact, I saw someone else kind of do a video similar, but Jake Paul represents like the fact that clout has become more important, way more important than integrity to anything at all. It's like the integrity of boxing. I've heard some people say this is good for boxing. I highly disagree. To me, anytime where you allow something to infiltrate a sport that undermines the fundamental aspects of that sport is not good for the sport. I don't care how many eyes it draws to the sport for a momentary basis. This is what we talk about a lot on this channel, that a lot of things, let's go ahead and talk about it, is relating it to the NBA. A lot of things may be good for a momentary fix or momentary eyes on the sport, but it's not going to be good for the longevity of the sport. And so this whole thing of people saying that it's good for boxing, I think it's terrible for boxing, because Jake Paul has not earned his way into boxing. And like I said, it just correlates to this whole idea of whatever's good for the moment instead of what's good for the future of something. And of course, like I said, it goes back to LeBron James. LeBron James is a clout superstar basketball player. LeBron James fans and followers and fanboys are all clout based. You can tell this by the kind of things that they say about LeBron James and by the kind of things that they say to defend LeBron James. It's really all, again, it's never anything about the sport. It's always about, how great of a father he is, and him being this so-called social justice warrior, and all these things that have nothing to do with how he plays basketball. You know, him never being in trouble, him having so much pressure on him more than any other athlete, which is false. But again, it's all these other things that let you know that his fan base is not interested in him as a basketball player. Like, it's all about the clout and the hype that has surrounded LeBron James since he came into the league. And this is the same thing that is ruling everything in the world right now. It's about that, or at least in the United States for sure, but it's about that clout. And this is why this whole Jake Paul thing was even able to be a thing at all. Is because, you know, he was an influencer, and through being an influencer, and we see this through every aspect of life. It's not just boxing. We see it in comedy with all these comedians coming out who have really been able to make a living, not because they're a great comedian and they paid their dues, but because they gained a big following on social media. And it's about the clout, and people think the clout justifies everything now. And yeah, and I would say I'm gonna wrap this video up because, like I said, I think I really want to do a live on this topic. And but the last thing I'm gonna mention briefly is that when you operate like this, you are robbing not only the participants in the sports or the entertainment or whatever it is, but you're also robbing the fans. You're robbing them of the potential great moments by lowering the standards of all these things. And it is only through trying to live up to the standards or surpass previous standards that great moments, that great athletes actually take place. But yeah, so we're gonna hold up here. Like I said, this fight was a disappointment. And then, of course, last but not least, we don't even have to talk about the streaming problems Netflix was having. Yeah, for the so-called biggest fight, it was complete failure on Netflix's part. I mean, it was completely ridiculous. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. What did you think of the so-called fight last night? Do you think it did anything for Jake Paul? Do you think it lessened Mike Tyson's legacy? Because for me, it didn't do anything for Mike Tyson's legacy, because at the end of the day, this wasn't a real fight. You know, yeah, it's like Jake Paul saying if you even consider this a win for you in terms of beating Mike Tyson, that shows you again that you don't respect the sport. Like, how can you consider this a win when you know you weren't fighting the man who everyone classified as the baddest man on the planet? You know, you weren't fighting that guy. You was fighting 58-year-old Mike Tyson, who has turned over. I'm sorry, I'm still going, but I do want to mention this, and because I talked about the killer mentality was gone at the beginning of this video, and I think part of what plays into that is that Mike Tyson is not the same person he was back then. You know, just that vicious person. Mike Tyson has spent the past several years trying to become a different person than who he was. And honestly, like, I think a lot of the antics leading up to this fight was Mike Tyson trying to find a way to trigger that guy back. But it's like he spent the past several years erasing that guy. He spent the past several years erasing that viciousness that he used to be. So, like, even the slap on Jake Paul, and I don't know if any of you saw the sit down he did with Cameron with him and Jake Paul presented him the pigeon, and Mike Tyson was like, I'm gonna feed this to my falcon. And but I felt like everything Mike Tyson was doing was like trying to somehow bring back that vicious guy, but he's just not that vicious guy anymore. But anyway, we're gonna end it for real now. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like I said, do you think it affected either one of their perceptions? For Mike Tyson, it doesn't affect his perception at all. For me, you know, like I said, I applaud him for just accepting the challenge at that age, because it's what he wanted to do. He wanted to see if he could rise to the challenge. And from a competitive standpoint, I completely understand. But for Jake Paul, I think Jake Paul just represents everything wrong with the society. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. You all have a truly, truly fantastic day. And I'll see you next time. All right.